everybody, Basic Eric from the Second Chance Garage. We're back on the floor pans today, and I just ran into my first wrinkle. When I bought these floor pans, they said required some fabrication for 77 and up or something like that, and this is a 77 for the catalytic converters, which I knew was up here. So I thought kind of up there things might get a little iffy, but what I didn't realize is all the cross members and everything are different, which, you know, hey, makes life interesting, I guess, right? So as we talked about before, this part here back is toast. The cross member underneath goes right here and up through there. So I was hoping I could find a nice flat spot up here and cut it off before the next cross member, so I could splice it in the middle here somewhere. But all of these little whoop-de-doos and everything in here is totally different between the two floor pans. So if you look at the front one here, the furthest outside seat mount is actually lower than this one. And on this pan, they're the same level. That's different. You have this little bump out that comes out right here, and that goes right into the cross member, so the cross member is that way too. Don't have that over there. This part in the middle is not on the new one. This piece right here is not on the new one. So basically it's the same, I think, about here, and then by the time you get to the cross member things have changed again. So I think what I'm going to try to do is splice it just in front of the cross member, you know, far enough away from the cross member where I can get to the welds and everything. And then I'm just going to have to basically bend this thing into place. I could try to go all the way up here, but this whole thing here is not really the same as it is over there. Maybe it is, I don't know, maybe they raised that one instead. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe this one's in the right place and this one's raised. You can see here when you come out of this one, it goes straight up and over. And this one here, it just goes pretty much straight across. But this here might be at the right elevation. This part's not, so maybe I can splice it there, but then that goes back down right there. So this comes up here and then it just goes straight across. So basically nothing matches. So I know at least this part has to go, so I'm going to cut it off here, like I said, right near the cross member, so I can get this panel out here. And then I can start laying it in there. The new one I know isn't going to fit across where that goes. So I could cut that pan there. I'm not sure. I mean, I gotta cut this thing somewhere so I can start figuring out where it's gonna go. Tricky business. So I've just been staring at it for like 10 minutes here, trying to figure out where the best place to splice it is. If the cross members underneath weren't different, then I could just say, I forget, I just replaced the whole panel. But the cross members aren't the same either, so even that doesn't work. Good times, good times. Alright, I'm going to think about this for a minute and I'll get back to you. Alright, so here's where we stand at the end of the day today. Spent a lot of time trying to get stuff out of here. And as usual, I end up with more questions than answers. This floor here and this pan here have very little in common from that point forward. So I'm wondering if it makes sense to buy a half pan, if I can find one for the 77 that actually has the right configuration here, and splice these two together somehow. I mean, even starting with this piece right here, which is this back piece. So that lines up pretty well there. You see by the time you get over here, this thing's just dramatically wrong. So this has the low spot ends right here and then it raises up right there. This one goes all the way over here. Remember in the car that spot right there then goes up into this. This doesn't exist over there. All of this is different. All of this is different. Gets to be the same up there again, I think. So that's pretty tough. I'm thinking if I can make it work, I would take, well, I have two choices here, I think. So either I can do the weld right on top of the cross member here, which I know a few people said was probably not a good idea, and I don't think it's a good idea myself, but that is an option. The other option is to take it to just on this side, but then everything's different from there, so that doesn't make sense. So the second option that makes sense, I think, is to cut this piece out here, cut it all out on the inside here, and take this piece and splice it onto that piece so that that weld in the middle there is good, and I can dress it and get it all proper and everything, and then I have a weld out in the middle here somewhere that I can do. You know, it's cutting a piece of metal out and then putting it back again, which is a little odd, but that's an option. Upon looking up here further, this metal's pretty rough and pitted and nasty. It's not so bad up here, but it's not great either. I did take Carrie's advice and try the needle scaler on that. It works okay. Not great, but it works okay. I think it helps get down into little crevices and stuff, but on the flat surfaces, you can see where I use the grinding disc. It works a lot faster than using that scaler. But the scaler is good for getting down into little spots, I think. Anyway, the moral of that story is this metal's not great up here, but I could probably live with it. This stuff is, the holes are deep enough. It's not through, as we say, but it's pretty ugly. It would require a lot of rust treatment stuff to make that happy. Here's the big question that I came up with, though. The metal that was in here, in these corners, was all holed and rusted and everything, so I had to take that out. The problem is we have the rear frame coming through here, the frame rails come through here, and this is a triple layer sandwich of stuff here. There's like the floor pan here, then this, and then I think there's, yeah, you can see there's yet another level of metal there. To get this completely off here would require taking all of the frame rails and everything off, which I don't really have any interest in doing whatsoever. So back here, I think I'm stuck with the idea of having to lay a new piece of metal on top here somewhere and just weld it straight on there, even though I can't get to the bottom and do anything about it. It would be, the places where I couldn't get it would be inside where the frame rails are, so maybe that's not a big deal. You know, but then I guess, you know, if it's okay to do it here, is it okay to do it here? I don't know. That's a good question. I realized as I was cutting into this that this was going to get pretty tough, but I really didn't have a choice. If you look at the metal that was in there, it was pretty trashed, so I didn't really have a choice but to take it out. You can see here's holes clear through it. By the time you get up to the top of that metal, it looks pretty good, so I think where I stopped here, I think the metal's good. I may change it a little bit for how I patch in the next piece, but I am kind of hosed when I get up here for sure. I'm not really positive what to do when I get up there. So the easiest thing to do would just be leave all this, just clean it up, treat it, not worry about it. It's not exposed to the outside weather, so maybe that's not a big deal. I can pour 15 that or whatever, and probably don't need to worry about that ever again. The bottom looks perfect, so I think the best plan is to find some way to splice this thing in here. As I said, we'll recap. The easiest thing to do would be to weld it right in here somewhere. Even that's going to require fabrication, but at least that's close. Then the next best idea that I have is, like I said, cutting this piece out here, splice it onto that one in a place that makes sense, do all the fab, get all that cleaned up, welds dressed, everything, and then weld that whole piece back in with the existing metal in there. Or option 3 or 4 or 5 is whatever you guys come up with, if you have a better idea. That's about all I can do for today, so I'm going to turn the camera off now and enjoy the rest of the weekend with the family and hang out. Appreciate your comments. Anybody has any good ideas on what to do about this thing? It's much appreciated. I'd like to start putting this pans back together at some point, but I don't know what the heck I'm doing at this point. So, anywho, happy Memorial Day, everybody. Have a good one.